I'm Sonia Miller, and I'm a creative. Travel with me throughout the beautiful Laurel Highlands. I'm looking for other makers, people who use their imagination to bring to life an idea, product, or who are creating something that's just plain cool. Let's find and meet them together. Join me as I share their stories. Hey friends, we're heading out to Mount Pleasant today. We are going to meet a couple that's living on the edge, so to speak. Brett and Sara Miller have been proving that old saying true, a couple that plays together stays together. So we're going to catch up with them today at Shop Demo Depot and see what they're up to. Let's go. Have you been here before? Seriously, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I might even need my blinders today, so you might have to help me. Come on, let's check it out.
I'm gonna do this one.
Hey guys!
Hey, how are you?
Hey, nice
how are you
to
doing?
be here. Yeah.
Great to see you here.
Good to see you.
I may have got a little bit distracted on the way in, so
I
you come here
understand.
often?
Yeah, quite a bit.
We're actually here pretty much every weekend.
You're regulars.
Yeah.
I know what I love to come here for, so what do you guys love to come here for?
Well, we're looking at some rough cut lumber and some live edge lumber here and seeing what was reclaimed and salvaged and seeing what we can make out of it.
And what does one make out of it? I see the piece you're holding looks like it's kind of eaten on one end. Like, what does one do with all this lumber?
Yeah, well,
We're
when we found this one, we thought, you know, we saw a guy online that made a light actually, and what we're thinking about doing is cutting this, turning it upside down, drilling a hole through the top, and making it a light.
A light?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that what you guys do is you convert wood into usable products?
Yep, coffee tables, end tables, any kind of furniture, trinkets, whatever we can do.
Really? Yep. And what's the name of your business? Introduce it to us.
Split Rail Woodcraft.
Very nice. Okay, so take us through here. So I'm not sure what I'm looking at. Maybe you can tell me and tell me what you're finding here today in your travels.
Yeah, well, this is a piece of black walnut that we found, and like I said, we're going to turn this into a light, and I think we can use the rest of it and turn it into table legs and maybe some bench legs for another project.
Another piece we found was over here. This one is called, I think, Orange Osage or Orange Osage, and it's actually a very difficult type of wood to work with. It's very hard and very sturdy, so it's kind of hard to cut through. So what I was thinking with this one is that it's already got a flat edge on the back, and I'm thinking this would make a perfect mantle for somebody above their fireplace, hang their stockings on it. So I think we're gonna take it home, finish it up, and it'll make a nice mantle for somebody, especially around Christmas time.
Oh, wow. So you look for wood of all different sizes, like any particular grades of wood or styles of wood? Because I will tell you, I am not the expert when it comes to species of lumber. Maybe you can help me with that.
You know, we kind of look and we just see like that looked like a perfect mantle, and we found a piece down here that's American chestnut, and we think it would be a nice table actually. And it's kind of a neat story behind American chestnut. Is that in 1950, I believe, it almost went extinct because of a blight, and it's very hard to find. So anytime you can find American chestnut, you got to scoop it up or tell us about it. So.
Okay, so you've just heard that. So if you're out, you find American chestnut, these guys want to know about it.
It's very sought after.
Very, very nice. So do you do all your shopping for your pieces at salvage yards, or what do you guys like to do? When
Primarily, we come to places like this and we look for wood and reclaim things, and we try to build furniture.
Try to give it a second life.
Yeah.
Very nice. It's really cool to think that how long a tree has stood in the forest for, all the historic events, all the storms it's weathered, and whether it's fallen down or whether it's been harvested, the fact that you guys can give new life to a piece, that's pretty exciting, right?
If not, it gets turned into mulch or something else. So
there you go.
Might as well bring it back to life.
Yep.
Very nice. So where does all this magic happen?
In our garage.
Your garage?
Yeah.
You live close by?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, you want to check it out?
Heck yeah, let's go.
All right.
Actually, it wasn't that hard to learn EXP. The remote is not complicated. The new guide is absolutely the best. You can go 2 weeks out to see what's on there. The search part is wonderful. All you start to do is type in and it pops up. Trust me, it's not complicated. If my husband can work it without any problems, It's not complicated.
Here.
So this is where the magic happens.
Yep.
Your garage.
Yep.
You don't have to. At least you don't have to travel too far from home, right?
Nope.
And I see you've been shopping. Tell me about this pile.
Yeah. Well, we acquired this pile 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
And it was a deal we couldn't pass up. They literally made us an offer we couldn't refuse. And here it is: white oak, American chestnut, black walnut, and a couple mysteries in there actually. So,
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Tell me about these mysteries. I guess you never really know sometimes because you could find some pieces that have some dirt, debris buildup.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
We have two beams in here. I'm not sure what they were used for, but they were used for some kind of wagon because they're cut strategically and they have holes in them where they would bolt up to something. And we're not sure what they are, what kind of wood species they are, but once we start sanding them, we'll be able to figure it out.
Cool. Well, remember, it's never hoarding if it's good stuff, right?
That's right.
Okay, so we know you got some good stuff in here. So when you look at a pile like this, what are you thinking immediately? Because they're all different shapes and sizes, and we talked about different species of wood. How do you get ideas for what you're going to do when you're looking at this?
Well, like this one big piece here on the floor and the piece we bought today at Demo Depot, immediately we knew they were going to be mantles, especially this big long piece of American chestnut here on the floor. It's just naturally shaped like a mantle. So that's what we're going to turn it into, 2 or 3 mantles. And a lot of times you can tell that things are just going to be tables or benches or shelves, and usually we can tell pretty quickly what we're going to be able to turn them into.
You know right away.
The shape and the wood grain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, if you're a baker or maybe you're a seamstress and you know when you do the taste test that it's just the right taste, or the fabric's going to work just perfect. You guys have the vision to be able to look at this and go, gut reaction, we know what we're doing with this.
95% of the time.
Usually, yeah. And even sometimes if we want to cut something at a certain point, the remainder we try to make sure that we use that and incorporate it into something, whether it's signs or coasters. We try to make sure that we're not wasting any of the material.
It's very rare that we throw anything away.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we are in your garage. Most people might opt to use this for an actual garage and put a vehicle in here. You've got a load of wood. So tell me how that happened and how you made the transition. Where did it all come from? Like, where did you start this process?
We've always kind of just done things ourselves and figured out how to do things ourselves, and we've always had a desire to build and create things. We've done cornhole boards. We've you name it. We've done it. We've built it. We've created it for our own house and for ourselves, and that's kind of just what we do. And I can't remember specifically how we got into this, but
I think I remember. He was cutting a tree out here, a pine tree over here. He was cutting some limbs off of it, and we were kind of stacking the wood up to burn in our fire pit out here. Where we kind of took a look, and Brett said, "Oh yeah, this is pretty cool. I think I can make something out of this." And so we kind of got started there, I would say.
Yeah, it was the candle holder, if I remember correctly.
He took a pine log and he put it on a base and he drilled some holes in it to put candles in, and I think that's kind of where our love for this kind of came from.
Very nice. And I understand from talking to you, your love in terms of being a couple started way back when. Were you guys creators back then too? Did you know that, we both have the same desire to create? How did you guys kind of find that?
Well,
I don't know that we knew back then, but
we didn't know for sure, I'd say, but we actually, when we met in middle school, we actually took an industrial arts class together, and it was pretty funny because we were both friends at the time, and I was pretty bad at my industrial arts projects, but Brett was really good at his, and he ended up building most of mine, so I guess you could say we've kind of been doing this ever since then.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Wow. So you put a name on it.
Yep.
Tell me about the name that you chose.
Split Rail Woodcraft. And there's a reason we chose Split Rail, and I'll let Sarah tell you that story.
Well, we have a logo, SRW, and instead of calling it what initially came to mind for us, which was salvaged reclaimed wood, we decided to come up with something else, and we thought of a split rail fence, the rustic look of a split rail fence, and called it Split Rail Woodcraft instead of salvaged reclaimed wood.
Very nice.
But SRW is really what that stands for us, salvaged reclaimed wood.
and it's always with you. Not only do you work with it in terms of you're here in your home, but you know, when you go on vacation, are you always thinking about this? Is this your love where it never leaves you guys? Like, I can only imagine the conversations that happen in cars, but does it take you places?
We just spent 6 hours in a car on our way to Kentucky. And we talked about Kentucky bourbon country, and we actually have some special projects coming up that we'll talk about here in a little bit. And but we talked about different products we can make, what in the world we're going to do with this pile of reclaimed wood, and so
things that kind of inspired us from that trip.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And she's always sending me pictures of things that she thinks we can build, and you know, it's constant. So
the chatter, yeah.
Usually on my lunch break, I'm kind of sending him, "Hey, check out what I found on Pinterest. Hey, check this out. We could so do this."
So do you find yourself down here in your garage late hours? Like, I mean, the both of you guys have a love of this, so I would imagine you're probably both enablers. So who knows when to kind of cut it off and say, "Okay, we need to go to bed now."
It's usually whenever we're kind of. Things are kind of falling, we're kind of maybe not doing things to the best of our ability. We're kind of like, well, maybe we should call it quits so nobody gets hurt.
There's been many nights we're down here till 11 o'clock, and after our day jobs, and we work just like everyone else, 40 hours a week or more. And our evenings and our weekends are spent down here designing and building and finishing benches and tables and all kinds of stuff.
This is kind of like our date night.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. So now you mentioned you both have day jobs. What do you guys do? What's your day job?
Well, I'm an athletic director for a local high school.
And I'm a requirements engineer for an engineering company.
So this is your therapy. This is your time to connect.
Oh yeah. Anytime you can rip apart something and put it back together, it is therapeutic, I guess.
Yeah. And any time spent together. I mean, we usually try to do these types of things together, and
Absolutely. So now, when you come home, what's your routine? Are you guys like itching, make supper, get down here?
It's usually a scramble to get things done as fast as we can so we can get down here and
dinner's
get creating.
Dinner's usually last if it happens at all sometimes.
Yeah, it happens late at night, or maybe you're holding a hot dog while you're doing something, handheld food, that sort of thing.
Yeah, usually just come home and try to relax for a couple of minutes and then come down and get to work and just try doing some things.
All right. Well, let's get to work. So we brought in some really cool pieces today. What happens next?
Well, we clean them up. We're going to sand off some pretty nasty stuff and vacuum off some pretty gross things off of this wood and clean it up and try to make it look nice.
So we're really going to get into the work today, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
All right, let's go.
All right.
So you're telling me, Brett, that we can actually get from an old piece of salvaged lumber to this look?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we start here, and we start with a very rough grit, about a 50 grit, and we work our way all the way up from a 50 grit sandpaper up to 1500. So there's some hours of sanding put into a piece like this, because every piece we have starts like this, and we hope that it ends up like this. We try to get it to this point. And this bench here, this is a piece of black walnut that we repurposed from Shop Demo Depot. Took it all the way down to 1500. Put our finish on it and let it cure, and this was the final product.
It's absolutely beautiful, and it's so nice that you can see all the grains of the wood in here. I'm assuming that you guys are nature lovers. You love natural.
Yeah. We like bringing the outdoors inside, and that's what Live Edge Furniture is all about. Is one, giving the tree a second life and a second purpose, and then two, just bringing the outdoors look into your house and bringing it indoors. I mean, these can be finished for the outdoors, but we primarily deal with inside furniture with a rustic look and a rustic flair.
And the great thing about Live Edge Furniture is that it's even growing in modern designs as well. So if you have a modern style in your home, a contemporary style, a lot of these are kind of showcase pieces even for that type of style as well.
Yeah, and we get a lot of questions, and people always say, well, what in the world is Live Edge Furniture? And I don't know why more people haven't heard of it, but I get that question all the time, and I know Sarah does as well. But it has that natural edge. It sometimes has the bark. Doesn't always have the bark, but it just has that natural edge. And actually, if we rotate this a little bit, if we can look at this side, you can see this is the edge without the bark. And this edge here, we can set it down right there. This is what was under the bark, and we finished that. We sanded it down, and you can see it took the finish really nice. So just keeping that natural look and that natural shape, you can tell here. of the tree, so that way people can say, oh, well, you know, I can kind of recognize that part of the tree, or whatever. So
I can even imagine, I'm sure, you know, there's trees that people plant over time. If you have something maybe in your yard where a windstorm has happened and it's fallen down, but you remember planting that tree with a loved one, and how cool would it be?
Right.
Can people do that? Can people bring their wood to you? Would you work with that?
They could. There is a drying process. Now, we don't dry our wood. We buy wood that's so old that it's long been dried. And typically when you cut a tree down to use it for furniture, you have to let it dry for about 3 to 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And it has to reach a certain dryness level, a certain moisture level in the wood. So that way when you put it in your house, you'll see right here, there's some cracking here. And what we'll do is we'll put a butterfly joint here to prevent any future cracking. But there is a drying process. It does take time, and it's part of the reason that live edge furniture, you'll find, is so expensive in some places.
Wow.
So there is a long process.
And it's amazing that you can actually see the tree growth where that starts inside the bark.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember being back in high school and learning, or elementary school, and learning about all the rings of the wood, and I forget how many years when you were able to count the rings and determine the age of a tree. Are you guys able to do that?
Unfortunately, with these pieces, unfortunately, we can't. There may be a way to do it, and you can at least figure out, this is probably at least, I would be still willing to say 30 to 60 years old. Really, to get an accurate count of the age of the wood, you have to look at the stump, because you'll see the center growth, and then you count the rings out from the center growth.
It's all coming back to me now.
Yeah. So, but that's kind of neat, though. You can kind of get an idea of the age here, and like I said, this is probably 50 to 60, maybe 70 years old. We have some American chestnut that's approaching 100 years old right now. So, simply because of the blight in 1950. So, but it is a beautiful piece. It's nice and thick, and the black walnut and the colors and the grains in it are really beautiful.
Okay, let's show us how you do it. I want to know. And these pieces are solid.
Yeah, this is not the heaviest bench we have. We have another bench, actually, it's in your shop at Monkey Shine Market, that's probably close to 250 pounds.
Huge, long coffee table. I remember that one.
Yeah.
It's one of those that you see and you don't forget.
Yeah. So what we're going to do here is we have a piece of white oak, and as we said before, we just spent a weekend in Kentucky. We did a couple tours down there where we toured the Bourbon Trail, the different distilleries like Jim Beam and, I can't remember, Maker's Mark and Woodford Reserve. And what we didn't know, and what we learned when we were down there, is that the government basically says, listen, to make bourbon, you have to meet these several requirements, ingredients, and their processes, the aging time. But one of the unique things that we found out is that bourbon has to be aged in charred white barrels. Charred white oak barrels, that is. And what we have here, we have quite a supply, is white oak. So what we're going to do, using our trip to Kentucky as inspiration, is we're actually going to have a bourbon-inspired, Kentucky-inspired, traditional type furniture we're going to build.
Collection.
So yep.
Very nice. Okay, well, I'm curious to see what happens here.
Yeah, so we're going to start with a 50 grit on a belt sander, and basically we're just going to work our way up from a 50 grit all the way up to 1500, and here we go.
Okay, take it away.
You look out here.
We'll stand back behind the dust cloud.
We have
the years of dust.
Well, sometimes we send these flying. So.
Yes, I know that firsthand.
Yeah.
difference here. So you're going to continuously work on this. You're going to alternate with your different grades of sandpaper. And what does it look like once it's done? Does it get it continuously wears away and exposing that grain?
Yeah, what you'll see here is you have some of the original saw cut lines, and what we've tried to do with some of our other stuff is keep some of the original saw cut lines in there to make people realize that this was cut and at some point, and it gives it a really nice look when you're finished. So we'll try to preserve some of those saw cut lines, and some of that grain as we move through the different grits will start to pop more and more.
Very nice. All right, do you have a piece that we can take a look at?
Sure.
Why don't you...
Oh, so you've already worked on the underside.
Yep, we've started on the other side here.
Because there's always projects, right?
There's always projects.
At always different stages. You know how that is as creatives. We always get a million and one things going on.
Yep, and this is what, this is basically, if I would have kept going with the 50 grit on the other side, what this side would have ended up looking at. And I think I've actually taken this up to 120 right now, is the furthest I've sanded this piece. So what we would do is continue to take it up to 1500 and either add a special touch to it or just add our finish or any hardware or whatever we need to do.
Okay, let's talk about your finish.
Well, our finishes, we do all kinds of stuff. We do tung oil, sometimes we just do polyurethane, lacquer. It really depends on what the intended use is going to be.
Okay.
We would put, if it's going to be a bar top, we would probably do a lacquer or several coats of polyurethane on this, just to protect it from moisture and drinks and accidents and things like that.
Absolutely.
If it was a shelf, I think we would just keep it probably with the oil, and because it's not going to get used and abused like a table would.
So I'm looking at this piece over here, Sarah. Is this something that you're going to be using as a shelf?
This is actually something that I've envisioned as a coat rack that will hang on a wall, and I actually have some of these hooks for coats that I want to attach to this. I'm kind of planning something like this here.
I have to tell you guys that are watching, these things are awesome because look, the screws don't fall out, right? Best thing ever.
Helpful. So helpful. But this is kind of what I'm envisioning for this one. I already took this one down to the 1500 finished sand, and I preserved some of the saw cuts here. So this one's ready to be finished.
Okay.
Ready to pour.
Do you have something we can see that happen?
Yeah, sure.
Right before our eyes, Sarah's going to show us real quick how she's going to make this grain pop. Because if you look at that piece over there, right, it's so vivid, it's so vibrant, you're really able to see everything. Let me get out of your way so you can go ahead and do that, Sarah.
Okay.
All right, Sarah's pouring right now our finish on a piece of black walnut that she's going to make into a coat rack. And this is our favorite part because this is when you really get to see the wood turn, it's almost like glass.
Look at that.
Oh my gosh.
You really see the grain start to pop, and you really see things start to come together.
I can totally understand why this would be your favorite part. You've totally inspired me just watching this process. And speaking of inspiration, so for all our viewers out there today who are watching this, and maybe they have a love to create something out there that's, that's on their heart, what would you say to those people?
I would say don't be afraid to challenge your comfort zone and put yourself out there, because if you can dream it, you can do it, and if you believe you can, then you will.
Wow. So these are real doers here right now, so I want to say thank you so much. I'm not going to shake Sarah's hand because my hand might melt, but thank you so much for being on our show today. I really appreciate you going shopping with me and teaching me all about living on the edge. When you feel a knocking, sometimes you've just got the answer. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Meet the Maker. Stay tuned. I'm hitting the road. You know the drill. I might be coming to your neighborhood next.